When we consider Barack Obama's legacies in the broad sweep of American history, it's illuminating to compare and contrast him with other transformative presidents, individuals whose impact reached beyond their years in office to shape the nation's direction and self-image. Among these, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump each stand out as pivotal figures, each with a distinct vision and set of achievements. By examining Obama's presidency alongside theirs, we can better understand not only what made his tenure unique, but also how his legacy fits into the larger narrative of American leadership. Let's begin with Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd president, whose presidency from 1933 to 1945 fundamentally redefined the relationship between the American people and their government. Like Roosevelt, Obama entered office facing a profound national crisis. For Roosevelt, it was the Great Depression. For Obama, the Great Recession. Both men responded with bold policy initiatives designed to restore public confidence and revitalize the economy. Roosevelt's New Deal revolutionized social welfare and economic regulation, while Obama's American Recovery and Reinvestment Act sought to jumpstart growth and save jobs. Both presidents faced fierce opposition for their programs, yet both are remembered for the lasting impact of their reforms. Yet, where Roosevelt's New Deal forged an enduring social safety net and dramatically expanded the role of government, Obama's achievements, most notably the Affordable Care Act, were more incremental, shaped by the realities of a polarized Congress and a divided electorate. The ACA expanded health insurance to millions, but it did not create a universal system on the scale of Social Security or Medicare. Roosevelt's fireside chats calmed a frightened nation and redefined presidential communication, just as Obama's eloquence and mastery of new media inspired a generation and mobilized grassroots support. When we consider Ronald Reagan, the 40th president, we see a leader who, like Obama, was as much a symbol as a policymaker. Reagan's presidency in the 1980s ushered in a new conservative era, championing tax cuts, deregulation, and a robust military posture. Where Obama's rhetoric centered on hope and inclusivity, Reagan's was about optimism and restoring American pride. Both men were skilled communicators, able to connect with the public and articulate a vision for the country's future. Reagan's economic policies, sometimes called Reaganomics, emphasized free market principles and sought to reduce the size and influence of government. Obama, in contrast, saw an active government as necessary for addressing the shortcomings of the market, whether in healthcare, financial regulation, or climate change. Reagan's legacy is often seen in the long-term shift of American politics to the right, making his presidency a touchstone for conservatives. Obama's presidency, similarly, became a rallying point for liberals and progressives, and his achievements have been fiercely defended and just as fiercely contested in subsequent years. Then there is Donald Trump, Obama's immediate successor, whose presidency was in many ways defined in opposition to Obama's. Trump's rise was fueled by a backlash against many of the changes that Obama symbolized and enacted. Where Obama sought to expand America's role on the world stage, rejoining global agreements, and seeking multilateral solutions, Trump championed an America First approach, pulling back from international commitments like the Paris Agreement and the Iran nuclear deal. Obama's calm, deliberative style was often contrasted with Trump's combative persona and penchant for disruption. The contrast between Obama and Trump also highlights the deepening polarization in American society. Obama's election was hailed as a sign of racial progress, while Trump's presidency exposed persistent racial and cultural divisions. The durability of Obama's reforms, such as the ACA and Dodd-Frank, was tested by Trump's efforts to dismantle them, raising questions about the permanence of legislative achievements in a polarized era. The two presidencies, taken together, encapsulate the tug-of-war over the nation's soul and direction in the early 21st century. Beyond America's borders, Obama's legacy is also viewed through a distinct lens. Internationally, his election was greeted with widespread enthusiasm. As the first Black president of the United States, Obama's rise carried profound symbolic weight, affirming ideals of progress and inclusivity. His emphasis on diplomacy and multilateralism, from signing the Paris Agreement on climate change to negotiating the Iran nuclear deal, was celebrated by many allies and partners. Obama's speeches, especially his 2009 address in Cairo and his remarks at the United Nations, were seen as attempts to bridge divides and restore America's moral leadership. Yet, foreign policy is rarely simple. While Obama is credited with restoring America's image abroad after the Iraq War era, he also faced criticism for the use of drone strikes, surveillance practices, and what many saw as a hesitancy to intervene in humanitarian crises, such as in Syria. His approach aimed to balance American interests with global stability, but the results were sometimes ambiguous. The killing of Osama bin Laden was a clear victory in the fight against terrorism, but the aftermath of the Arab Spring and the rise of ISIS left unresolved challenges. On the question of leadership style, Obama's presidency marked a departure from many of his predecessors. His intellectualism, composure, and preference for consensus building were often praised as assets in a turbulent world. Admirers saw in him a model of dignity and steady stewardship, especially in contrast to some of the more volatile moments in American politics, both before and after his tenure. Critics, however, sometimes saw these same qualities as signs of caution or aloofness, particularly when they hoped for more aggressive efforts at reform. Obama's legacy also intersects with the story of polarization in modern America. While he inspired millions and represented progress for many, his presidency also coincided with a deepening of partisan divides. Some of these divisions predated his time in office, but the reactions his presidency provoked, whether in the rise of the Tea Party or the eventual election of Trump, suggest that his impact on the political landscape was profound, if not always unifying. Historians will likely remember Obama as a president who expanded access to health care, led the nation out of economic crisis, and embodied the ideals of democracy and inclusivity. The long-term significance of his achievements will be debated. Was the Affordable Care Act a stepping stone to a more equitable system, or a compromise that left too many uninsured? Did his cautious approach to foreign crises prevent deeper quagmires, or did it allow new threats to fester? Was his presidency a turning point for racial progress, or did it reveal the limits of change? In considering Obama's place alongside figures like Roosevelt, Reagan, and Trump, we see a leader shaped by and shaping the challenges of his era. Roosevelt responded to economic catastrophe with transformative government action. Reagan reimagined the nation's priorities in the midst of a conservative resurgence. Trump upended norms and deepened divides. Obama's legacy, meanwhile, is one of pragmatic progressivism, symbolic breakthroughs, and the ongoing struggle to realize America's ideals in a changing world. Ultimately, Obama will be remembered not only for what he accomplished, but for what he represented. His presidency was a testament to the power of symbols in politics, the hope that the country could overcome its past and chart a new, more inclusive future. Whether his achievements prove lasting will depend on the choices of those who follow. But as history continues to unfold, Barack Obama's time in office will remain a defining chapter in the American story, one marked by aspiration, resilience, and the continuing pursuit of a more perfect union.